Good evening, YouTube. This is Danielle Moore from Spiritual Sessions, and I'm here to talk a little bit more about what I hope to accomplish with this channel. And as I've said in the description, what I would like to cultivate is a place for the practical mystic. And this is my definition of practical mystic. This is by no means from a book or the official version. This is Danielle Moore's version of practical mystic. So when I think about a practical mystic, I think about mystic, which is someone who seeks or has had direct experience of the divine. And then practical is bringing that experience into the present world that we live in and how to cultivate that mysticism in everyday life. So that's what I think about when I say practical mystic. When I thought about today what I would say, and this is going to be a little free flowing, I have some notes, but I'm just going to kind of free flow about this a little bit, is that we have, if you want to say, four realms that we use. We have kind of like our intuition, we have what we feel, we have what we see, and we have what we think. And how you live out this life in this world, from my point of view, is that all of those things work together. Your intuition, your thoughts, what you actually see, kind of the material realm, and also what you feel. If you rely on only one of those things all the time, it's very possible that you'll get out of balance. Not because any of those things are untrue, but our interpretation of those things may be untrue. So, for instance, if I only rely on what I can see, I would not only rely on what you can see, because a lot of what we see is not really true. It looks true, but it isn't if you go behind hand. If you only rely on what you think, again, what you think may be right, it may not be right. It may be true, it may not be true. It's just your thoughts. So you have to question those thoughts. Same thing with what you feel. I see a lot of things, especially on social media, about, well, I feel like this, and so I'm going to take actions on what I feel. And as my aunt used to say, it's just a feeling and it'll change. So you can't only rely on your feelings. Even intuition. Of course, you can rely on intuition. However, we may interpret those intuitive hits incorrectly. So it takes practice and experience in order to, as people who are familiar with biblical messages, to rightly divide truth, rightly divide the word of truth. So we have to use all those things in order to live out a mystical life while we are on this existence on planet Earth. So that's one thing that I wanted to put out about being a practical mystic. The other thing is that you are in control and you're not in control. So one of the lessons I'm learning is that I have a lot to say and do about how my life turns out, but I don't have everything to say about it. Some things are going to happen regardless of what I do, and that's just how it is. And we have to be able to roll with those punches and meet those challenges, again, using the tools and using our experience and spiritual practices in order to meet those challenges. So a person can eat the best, exercise every day, do everything right, and still get cancer. So is that person's fault that they got cancer? They can do all that they could do for stress relief and still end up with cancer. Are we going to say it's that person's fault that they ended up with cancer? There's people who do none of those things and never get cancer. So I can tell you, if you do none of those things, your risk for cancer increases. So how I see this is the same way, as above, so below. If we practice nothing, your risk for spiritual chaos or living a excuse me, chaotic life increases. If you do the practices and cultivate what you feel, what you think, what you intuit, and also what you see, then your likelihood of being able to meet challenges increases exponentially, in my opinion. If you do none of it, you might be able to just come up with it right away, but your risk for not being able to do that is higher. So again, that's a practical way to look at the mystical life, and that's my sweet spot. I'm thinking there's other people out there who also have that sweet spot, because there's a lot of information and paths and things out there that you can do and follow. But I know for me, I have to have that practical with the mystical. That's just my nature. That's how I go into the world, and that's my niche. And so I'm got this channel together, hoping that I can cultivate a community of people who also fit that niche as well, and we can walk the path together, give each other encouragement and help. So that's how I started the channel. That's what I want to accomplish with this channel. And it's called Spiritual Sessions because, again, spiritual to me encompasses the whole person and the whole world. I see everything as part of one big whole. And the minute we try to keep ourselves separate, then we're in trouble, which we are in trouble right now, because we are dead set on being separate. And it's nothing wrong with being individual. But again, if that's all you will focus on as individual, more likely you're going to have an issue somewhere else. There's always has to be balance. Looking at my notes here. Another thing that I think about with Practical Mystic is that everything is infused with what or who, however you want to look at that, created it. So I do believe that there is, in fact, I feel like I know that there is an underlying unity of energy that underlies everything. Some people call that God. Some people call it the all, the living one, the ground of being, whatever you call that. That's what God is to me. And in fact, I've recently started using the term God Mother in order to incorporate the masculine and feminine aspects of that energy. So everything in existence is infused with that energy.